The station's night cycle brought an eerie quiet to the corridors. Ellen checked her small communication device. 3 hours had passed since the Zeliki visitor had left, and now it was time to see if the alien's warning was true. "Are we really doing this?" Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. Ellen nodded. "Peter, you stay here. If we don't return in 2 hours, use the emergency protocol to contact Earth." Peter frowned but nodded. "Be careful. We still don't know if this is a trap." Ellen and Maya slipped out of their quarters. The blue-skinned Zeliki was waiting at the end of the dimly lit corridor. "Follow. Quiet," it whispered, moving with surprising speed on its thin legs. They traveled through service passages and maintenance tunnels, avoiding the few aliens still moving around the station. Ellen carefully memorized their path, noting emergency exits and potential escape routes. After 20 minutes of silent travel, they reached a section with different markings on the walls. "The air felt colder here. Central Command. Restricted," the Zeliki explained, pointing to a large door. "Inside, proof." The alien produced a small device and placed it against the security panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Ellen hesitated, only a moment before entering, Maya close behind her. Inside was a vast control room with screens covering the walls. Most displayed star maps and ship movements, but their guide moved directly to a central console. "Here. Watch." The Zeliki's nimble fingers worked quickly over the controls. A large screen activated, showing what appeared to be archived footage. Ellen recognized the chamber where they had stood before the council earlier that day. But now, different representatives stood on the platform, tall, bird-like creatures with feathered crests. "A Vari species. Came 1 cycle ago," the Zeliki explained. "Like you. Wanted trade." Ellen watched as the scene played out similarly to their own introduction. The dismissive treatment, the same conditional offer of potential membership. The footage then changed to show a planet with 2 moons. Beautiful blue oceans covered most of its surface. "A Vari homeworld," the Zeliki said. The next images made Ellen's blood freeze. Vizari ships surrounding the planet, strange weapons firing into the atmosphere. The Zeliki fast-forwarded the footage, showing the aftermath. Mining operations covering the once beautiful surface, the native cities reduced to rubble. 3 billion Avari. Gone. Resources taken," Maya gasped. "They killed an entire civilization?" "Not just one." The Zeliki brought up more files. Planet after planet, species after species, all followed the same pattern. First contact, rejection of membership, then later systematic resource extraction after the planets were pacified. "This is genocide on a galactic scale," Ellen whispered. "Wait," the Zeliki said, selecting another file. "Most important." This footage showed a Vizari laboratory. Scientists moved around examination tables where various alien species lay. Ellen felt sick as she realized they were children, young ones from different worlds connected to machines that extracted something from them. "What are they doing?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Neural compounds. Children produce special chemicals when afraid. Vazari harvest for long life. Youth serums." Maya turned away, unable to watch. "They're torturing children for immortality drugs?" "Yes. Always take children first when attack New World. Most valuable resource." Ellen's hands clenched into fists. "We need to download this evidence. Earth needs to see it." The Zeliki produced another crystal data device. "Already prepare. Take." Suddenly alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the control room. "Detected," the Zeliki cried. "Must run." They rushed toward the door, but it slid open before they reached it. 2 Vezari guards stood there, weapon tubes extended from their forearms. "Human delegates in restricted area," one said flatly. "Violation of diplomatic protocol." Ellen straightened her back, trying to project calm she didn't feel. "There seems to be a misunderstanding. Our guide was showing us back to our quarters, and we became lost." The Vizari's eyes narrowed. "With unauthorized access to secure files?" "Unlikely." Behind them, The Zeliki was frantically trying to erase evidence of what they had been viewing. One guard raised its weapon and fired. The blue-skinned alien collapsed with a soft cry. No. Maya moved toward their fallen guide, but Ellen held her back. Return to quarters for immediate deportation, the guard ordered. The Supreme Chancellor has revoked Earth's petition. Ellen could feel the data crystal in her pocket, their only evidence of the Vasery's true nature. We'll come peacefully. The guards escorted them through main corridors now, not bothering with secrecy. Other aliens watched with sad eyes as they passed, but none interfered. Back in their quarters, Peter jumped up when they entered. What happened? The alarms. We're being deported, Ellen said quietly, giving him a meaningful look. Pack your things. When the guards stepped outside, to allow them to gather their belongings, Ellen quickly showed Peter the data crystal. They're monsters, she whispered. They've been systematically eliminating species across the galaxy for resources. And they specifically target children, Maya added, her voice hollow. Peter's face hardened. Did you manage to send any of this to Earth? No time, Ellen said. We need to get this crystal home. A new alarm sounded, different from the first. The ship trembled slightly. That's not good. Peter moved to the viewport. His face went pale. Ellen, look. Outside, Vasari warships were moving into formation. On the main viewing screen in their quarters, the Supreme Chancellor's face appeared. Attention station residents. A human colony has been detected in Sector 87A, designation New Haven. The colony was established in Vasari territory without authorization. Cleansing operations have commenced. Ellen felt her heart stop. New Haven was Earth's newest colony. 30,000 people, including many families with young children. They had established it 6 months ago, long before making contact with the Galactic Council. They can't, Maya whispered. We didn't know. But Ellen understood the terrible truth. The Vasari had known about New Haven all along. They had never intended to grant Earth membership. This had always been the plan, to identify human worlds, reject diplomatic ties, then harvest their resources, starting with the children. We need to get off this station now, Ellen said, her voice hard with determination. Captain Ross needs to prepare for emergency departure. They'll never let us leave, Peter argued. Not with what we know. Ellen activated her communication device. Unity, this is Ambassador Wright. Code Black, I repeat, Code Black. Code Black, the highest emergency protocol. On the Unity, Captain Ross would now be initiating escape procedures they had planned for worst-case scenarios. What can we do from here? Maya asked. Ellen looked at the data crystal in her hand, containing evidence that could unite the galaxy against the Vasari, if they could get it to Earth. We fight, she said simply. And we make sure the universe knows what the Vasari Empire really is. Outside, the first Vasari ships jumped to light speed heading toward New Haven. Ellen knew they wouldn't arrive in time to warn the colony. Her thoughts turned to the thousands of human children about to face the horror she had witnessed in those videos. They have no idea what they've just started, she whispered as the station shuddered around them. The stars looked different from the viewing deck of the diplomatic vessel Unity. Ellen Wright had studied astronomy her whole life, but seeing the galaxy from the edge of Vasari space made Earth's sun seem impossibly far away. She straightened, her navy blue uniform, and checked her reflection one last time. Today was humanity's formal introduction to the Galactic Council, and as Earth's chosen ambassador, the weight of first contact rested on her shoulders. Ambassador Wright, we're approaching the station, said the pilot's voice through the intercom. Vasari Control has granted us docking permission. Ellen took a deep breath. Thank you, Captain Ross. Please inform the crew to prepare for arrival protocol. The massive space station grew larger in the view screen. It was unlike anything humans had built, a vast ring structure with spokes extending toward a central hub, all gleaming with golden light against the darkness of space. Hundreds of alien ships moved around it like bees around a hive. Captain Ben Ross entered the viewing deck, his expression serious. Ma'am, Intelligence just sent an update. We've confirmed at least 300 different species are represented. On the Council, and the Vizari Imperium holds the current leadership position. Ellen nodded. And what's the latest assessment of the Vizari? Reptilian in appearance, highly advanced technology. They've ruled the Council for over 200 years. He hesitated. And they don't have a great track record with newcomers. The last 3 species that petitioned for membership disappeared from galactic records within 5 years. Disappeared how? Unknown. But none of their home planets show signs of civilization anymore. Ellen's stomach tightened, but her face remained calm. 6 billion lives back on Earth depended on her making the right impression today. Let's hope we're more valuable as friends than as a cautionary tale, she said. The Unity docked with a gentle shudder. Ellen led her small team toward the airlock. Herself, First Contact Specialist Dr. Maya Johnson, and Security Officer Peter Clark. They had practiced this moment for months. The airlock hissed open to reveal 2 tall Vizari waiting for them. Their bodies were covered in iridescent scales that shifted from green to purple depending on how the light hit them. 4 black eyes studied the humans with unreadable expressions. Their mouths, filled with needle-like teeth, didn't move when they spoke. Instead, translator devices on their chests converted their thoughts directly into English. Earth representatives, you will follow, came the flat, artificial voice. As they walked through the station's corridors, Ellen took careful note of everything. The ceilings were high, clearly built for species taller than humans. The air was thick and warm, with a slight metallic taste. Most importantly, she watched the reactions of other aliens as they passed. Some showed curiosity. Many showed fear when the Vizari escorts passed by. Maya leaned close and whispered, "The social dynamics here don't look healthy." Ellen nodded slightly. In her diplomatic training, fear responses from multiple parties usually indicated an imbalance of power, not mutual respect. They entered a vast chamber with rising tiers of seating. Hundreds of different life forms filled the seats, some humanoid, others completely alien in form. Some floated in special tanks, others were connected to breathing apparatus. The diversity was breathtaking. The Vizari escorts directed them to a small platform at the center of the room. "You will wait to be acknowledged," one said before leaving them exposed in the center. For nearly 20 minutes, the council carried on business as if the humans weren't there. Ellen stood patiently, though her legs began to ache. This was a power play, making them wait. She had expected it. Finally, a large Vizari wearing an ornate golden collar rose from the highest seat. The room immediately fell silent. "The Galactic Council recognizes the representatives from the planet designated Earth," the translator announced. "Supreme Chancellor Xitva will hear your petition." Ellen stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador Ellen Wright of Earth. We come seeking peaceful exchange of knowledge and resources as a recognized member of your community." A strange clicking sound came from the Supreme Chancellor. The translator paused before conveying, "The human species has only recently achieved rudimentary space travel. Your technological development is quaint." Laughter rippled through parts of the chamber. Ellen felt her cheeks warm but kept her composure. "While we may be new to interstellar travel, humanity has much to offer. Our homeworld contains unique biological compounds not found elsewhere. Our cultural and artistic achievements, we have reviewed the information packet your automated probes transmitted," interrupted the Chancellor. "Your planet has resources that might be of minor interest, but nothing that would warrant full council membership." Ellen had prepared for resistance. "Then perhaps an associate status while we demonstrate our value? We seek only fair trade and protection under galactic law." The Supreme Chancellor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Associate status requires sponsorship from an existing council member." The chamber fell silent. Not a single representative spoke up. Ellen felt sweat forming at her temples. This wasn't going according to plan. "Surely some arrangement. The council will consider your petition and inform you of our decision," the Chancellor said dismissively. "You are assigned temporary quarters in Section 42B. Do not attempt to access restricted areas. With that, the platform beneath them began to lower, a clear dismissal. Back in their assigned quarters, a small, plain room with 3 sleeping platforms, the team gathered to assess. That could have gone better, Peter said, checking the room for listening devices. Maya was reviewing data on her tablet. I counted at least 50 species that showed potential interest in us, but none willing to challenge the Vizari openly. Ellen stared out the small viewport at the stars. Something isn't right here. Did you notice how the smaller representatives flinched whenever a Vizari passed? Empire, not council, Peter said grimly. We're dealing with a dictatorship that's masquerading as a democracy. Ellen nodded slowly. And history shows what empires do to those they consider beneath them. A soft chime interrupted them. The door slid open, revealing a small alien with pale blue skin and large, sad eyes. It glanced nervously down the corridor, before entering and closing the door quickly. Humans, it whispered in broken English, not using a translator. Danger you. Vizari not want friends. Want resources only. Ellen approached slowly, hands visible. Who are you? Amzeliki. My world, gone now. Was like you. Came for trade. The alien's voice trembled. Vizari promise peace. Then take everything. When guard down, Maya stepped forward. They destroyed your planet? Not destroy. Harvest. Children first. Always children first. Ellen felt ice in her veins. Why are you telling us this? The alien reached into its robes and pulled out a small crystal data device. Evidence. Many worlds. Many species. All gone. Some on council know, afraid to speak. Peter took the device cautiously. This is a serious accusation. Truth, the alien insisted. Must warn Earth. Must prepare. Tonight I help you see real Vizari plans. Meet when station sleep cycle. After the Zeliki left, Ellen stared at the data device in her hand. It could be a trap, Peter warned. Or it could be the warning that saves humanity, Ellen replied. Either way, we need to know the truth. Outside their viewport, the endless expanse of stars seemed suddenly cold and threatening. First contact had just become far more dangerous than anyone on Earth had imagined. Alarms continued to blare throughout the station. Ellen, Maya, and Peter moved quickly, gathering only essential items. The data crystal felt heavy in Ellen's pocket, the evidence that could expose the Vizari Empire's true nature to the galaxy. Unity to Ambassador Wright, Captain Ross's voice came through her communicator. We've been ordered to leave immediately. The Vizari claim you violated diplomatic protocols. They know we discovered their plans, Ellen replied. We need emergency. Extraction. We have critical evidence. There was a pause. Understood. But the main docking bay is locked down. You'll need to reach Auxiliary Dock 7. Can you get there? Peter pulled up a station map on his device. It's 3 levels down. East section. Not far, but likely guarded, Ellen thought quickly. We can't use the main corridors. Maya, did you notice the maintenance tunnels when we were with the Zeliki? Maya nodded. They connect most sections. The access panel was coded, but I watched. Our guide opened it. Then that's our way out, Ellen decided. Captain Ross, prepare for immediate departure once we board. We'll likely have Vizari ships in pursuit. Already on it, Ambassador. As they prepared to leave, the station's communication system activated again. The Supreme Chancellor's cold voice filled their quarters. Human delegates, your attempt to access restricted information is a serious offense. Surrender immediately for processing. Ellen ignored the message. Ready? Peter checked the small energy pistol he had kept hidden in his luggage, a precaution that now seemed essential. Ready? They slipped into the corridor, finding it strangely empty. Most aliens were likely sheltering during the alarm. Maya led them to a maintenance panel near the end of the hall. Her fingers worked quickly, replicating the sequence she had seen the Zeliki use. The panel slid open, revealing a narrow passage. These weren't designed for our size, Maya warned as they squeezed inside. They moved as quickly as possible through the cramped tunnels, guided by Peter's map. The sound of their breathing seemed loud in the confined space. "Stop," Peter whispered. Suddenly, "Listen." They froze. From somewhere ahead came the sound of movement, the scrape of scales against metal. "Vizari search parties," Ellen whispered. "They must have guessed we'd use these tunnels." "There's a junction ahead," Peter said, studying his map. "We can detour through the waste processing section." The detour added precious minutes to their journey. Ellen's mind raced with thoughts of New Haven. The colony wouldn't stand a chance against the Vizari forces. 30,000 lives, men, women, and children, all marked for processing. First the children, their neural compounds harvested. Then the adults worked as slaves until their bodies failed, and finally the planet stripped of resources. The pattern was clear from the files they had seen. It had happened dozens of times before. They reached another junction where the tunnel widened slightly. "We're directly below Auxiliary Dock 7, Peter said. "This access ladder should lead up to a maintenance closet near the docking port." Ellen went first, climbing the narrow ladder carefully. At the top, she pushed against the panel. It didn't move. "It's locked from the other side," she called down softly. Peter passed his energy pistol up to her, low setting. It should melt the lock without alerting security. Ellen adjusted the weapon and fired a short burst at the edge of the panel. The metal glowed red, then yellow, until a small hole appeared. She reached through, feeling for the locking mechanism. Her fingers found it, and with a click the panel loosened. Cautiously, she pushed it open and peered out. The maintenance closet was empty. She climbed out and helped Maya and Peter up. "The docking bay should be just outside," Maya whispered. Ellen pressed her ear to the closet door, listening for movement. She could hear voices, Vizari guards, discussing search patterns. "2 guards at least," she whispered. "We need a distraction." Peter looked around the closet, his eyes falling on the environmental controls. "These stations need precise atmospheric conditions for different species. What if we adjust the oxygen levels in this section?" "Not enough to harm anyone," Ellen insisted. "Just enough to draw attention away from the dock." Peter nodded and began working on the control panel. After a moment, warning lights flashed on the display. "Oxygen level alert in east section, levels 3 through 5, an automated voice announced through the station's communication system. All personnel report to designated safety areas." They heard the guards outside moving quickly away from their position. Ellen counted to 10, then carefully opened the door. The corridor was empty. "Now," she urged, and they ran toward the docking. Bay the Unity was there, its engines already humming with pre-launch preparations. The boarding ramp was down, with Captain Ross standing at the entrance looking anxious. "Hurry," he called, waving them forward. "Station security is locking down all docks." They sprinted across the open space. Just as they reached the ramp, energy bolts struck the floor around them. Ellen looked back to see 4 Vizari guards entering the bay, weapon tubes extended. "Take cover," Peter shouted, returning fire with his pistol. Ellen pushed Maya ahead of her up the ramp. Captain Ross dropped to one knee, firing a larger weapon toward the guards. "Get inside," Ross ordered. "Engine sequence has already started." Ellen turned to help Peter, who was still exchanging fire with the guards. A bolt struck near his feet, sending him stumbling. Another hit his shoulder, and he fell to one knee. Ellen ran back down the ramp, grabbed his arm, and pulled him up. Together they stumbled up the ramp as Ross provided covering fire. "Go!" Ellen shouted as they cleared the ramp. Captain Ross hit the control panel and the ramp began to close. "Bridge, emergency departure," Ross ordered into his communicator. "Blast doors are closing on the bay." The ship shuddered as the engines engaged. Through the closing ramp, Ellen saw more Vizari troops flooding into the bay, but it was too late. The Unity broke free from its docking clamps and accelerated away from the station. Ellen helped Peter to the medical bay where Maya was preparing emergency supplies. "How bad is it?" she asked, examining the energy burn on his shoulder. "Superficial," Peter grimaced. Their weapons were set to stun, not kill. They wanted prisoners. Captain Ross entered, his face grim. We've cleared the station, but we have 3 Vezari pursuit ships on our tail. Our engines can outrun them, but not by much. Set course for New Haven, Ellen ordered. Ambassador, the colony is in the opposite direction from Earth, and from what you've told me, we're too late to help them. Ellen clutched the data crystal in her hand. Maybe, but we need to see what happened. We need evidence of what the Vezari did, evidence we can take back to Earth and share with every other species that's been victimized. Ross nodded slowly. It will be dangerous. Our mission changed the moment we learned what the Vezari really are, Ellen said. This isn't about diplomacy anymore. It's about survival. The captain returned to the bridge, leaving Ellen with her injured teammates. What do you think we'll find at New Haven? Maya asked quietly. Ellen remembered the footage they had seen. The systematic destruction of world after world, species after species, and always beginning with the children. Horror, she said simply. But also, the reason humanity will never surrender. The Unity accelerated to maximum speed, racing to witness the fate of the first human victims of the Vezari Empire. The journey to New Haven took 16 hours. Ellen spent most of that time reviewing the data they had stolen from the Vezari Command Center. Each file revealed new horrors, 27 species completely wiped out over the past century alone. Some had been spacefaring civilizations with billions of people. Others were newer species just beginning to explore their solar systems. All had been systematically destroyed for their resources. Captain Ross entered the small conference room where Ellen was working. His face looked tired, with deep lines of worry. We've dropped out of faster-than-light travel, he reported. New Haven is in this system. We're approaching slowly, using the gas giant for cover. Ellen nodded. Any sign of Vezari ships? 3 large vessels in orbit around the colony. They appear to be transport ships, not warships. Mining equipment, Ellen said grimly. They work fast. Peter joined them, his injured shoulder bandaged. What's the plan? We can't engage 3 Vezari ships. We won't, Ellen agreed. But we need visual evidence of what they've done. Captain, can we get close enough for detailed scans without being detected? Yes, if we stay in the shadow of the planet's rings. But our sensor range will be limited. It's a risk we have to take, Ellen said. Humanity needs to see this. The Unity moved silently through the outer reaches of the New Haven system. Ellen joined the bridge crew, watching the main screen as they approached the small Earth colony. From a distance, it looked peaceful, a mostly blue planet with 2 small continents and scattered island chains. The larger northern continent held the main colony, a planned settlement of 30,000 people. Life signs? Ellen asked the sensor officer. The young woman shook her head. None that we can detect from this range. Ellen felt a coldness spreading through her chest. Move us closer, we need to be sure. Captain Ross gave the orders, and the Unity edged forward, still hidden within the rings of the gas giant. The colony world grew larger on the screen. We're within detailed scan range, the sensor officer reported, running full spectrum analysis. The ship was silent as everyone waited. Finally, the results appeared on the screen. No human life signs, the officer confirmed, her voice tight. But I am detecting Vezari biosignatures, approximately 200 individuals. They're concentrated around the main colony and the mining sites. Ellen stared at the screen. Show me the colony. The image zoomed in, showing New Haven's central plaza and surrounding buildings. Even from orbit, Ellen could see that something was wrong. The buildings stood intact, but the streets were empty. No movement, no vehicles, no people. Can we get closer? I need to see what happened to the colonists. Captain Ross hesitated. Ambassador, if we leave the protection of the rings, I know the risks, Ellen said firmly. But we need evidence, irrefutable evidence. After a moment, Ross nodded. Helm, take us in. Maintain minimal power signature. All non-essential systems offline. The Unity slipped out from the gas giant's rings and moved toward New Haven. As they approached, Maya entered the bridge. What are we seeing? She asked, her voice hushed. Nothing yet, Ellen answered. No signs of battle damage to the colony. No evidence of weapon fire. That fits the pattern, Maya said, looking at her tablet. According to the files we found, the Vizari prefer clean extraction. They use airborne toxins that leave infrastructure intact. The ship entered a high orbit around New Haven, still undetected by the Vizari vessels on the far side of the planet. Their scanning equipment focused on the colony. I'm detecting unusual chemical compounds in the colony's ventilation systems, the science officer reported, consistent with neural toxins targeting the central nervous system. Can you show us the residential areas? Ellen requested. The screen shifted to show homes, schools, and community centers. At first, everything looked normal. Then Ellen noticed patterns on the ground, long, straight lines of objects. Magnify Sector 4, she ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. The image zoomed in, and Ellen's hands gripped the console edge. Bodies. Hundreds of bodies laid out in neat rows. Children in the front rows, adults behind them. They looked peaceful, as if sleeping. They've arranged them for processing, Maya said, her voice breaking. Just like the files showed. The children first, then the adults. Ellen fought to keep her composure. Record everything, every detail. The bridge crew worked in silence, documenting the horror below. Camera drones were launched to capture closer images while staying undetected. Ambassador, the communication officer called suddenly. We're picking up a transmission from the Vizari ships. It's being sent on all frequencies. Let's hear it, Ellen ordered. The Vizari Supreme Chancellor's voice filled the bridge. Attention all Galactic Council species. The unauthorized human settlement designated New Haven has been cleansed as per Resource Acquisition Protocol. The planet has been claimed for the Vizari Imperium. All resources are now property of the Empire. Any attempted interference will be met with immediate force. Ellen's knuckles turned white as she gripped the console. They're broadcasting their crime to the entire galaxy, Peter said in disbelief. They're not even trying to hide it. Because no one has ever challenged them, Ellen replied. No one has ever fought back. The sensor officer turned suddenly. Captain, one of the Vizari ships has changed orbit. They may have detected us. Captain Ross immediately shifted to alert mode. Recall the drones. Prepare for emergency jump. Not yet, Ellen said. There's one more thing we need. She turned to the science officer. Can you scan the Vizari ships? I need to know what they're carrying. The officer worked quickly. Large storage containers in their cargo holds. Chemical analysis suggests biological material. The extracted neural compounds, Maya whispered. Ellen nodded grimly. And the evidence we need. Captain, we have what we came for. Vizari's ship is definitely moving to intercept, the sensor officer warned. They've launched smaller craft. Jump. Now, Ross ordered. Set course for Earth maximum speed. The Unity's engines flared to life, propelling the ship away from New Haven and into faster-than-light travel, just as the Vizari pursuit ships entered weapons range. In the sudden quiet that followed their escape, Ellen stood motionless on the bridge. The images of the neatly arranged bodies of New Haven's colonists burned in her mind. Ambassador? Captain Ross approached her cautiously. What are your orders? Ellen turned to face him, her expression resolute. Transmit everything. We've recorded to Earth Command. High priority. Direct to Admiral Garcia and President Fowler. And after that? Ellen looked at the star map showing their course back to Earth. Prepare a message for the Galactic Council. Not just the Vizari, but every species that sits in that chamber. They need to know what's coming. What exactly is coming, Ambassador? Peter asked. Ellen's eyes were cold as steel. Humanity, and we will not be cleansed. Earth changed in the 3 days after receiving the Unity's transmission. Ellen watched from the ship as they approached her home planet. Military vessels now surrounded Earth in protective formations. Construction platforms were building new defense stations in orbit. The planet she had left just weeks ago was preparing for war. They mobilized quickly, Captain Ross observed as they passed the outer defense line. Ellen nodded. The evidence was irrefutable. President Fowler declared a global emergency the moment she saw what happened at New Haven. The Unity docked at the main space station. A delegation was waiting for them: Admiral Garcia, Defense Secretary Winters, and other high-ranking officials. Their faces were grim as Ellen and her team stepped off the ship. "Ambassador Wright," Admiral Garcia greeted her with a formal salute. "Your evidence has changed everything. The President is waiting." A shuttle took them directly to the global defense headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains. The massive underground complex had existed for centuries as a last resort command center. Now it hummed with activity as military personnel worked at stations monitoring Earth's defenses. President Fowler met them in the central command room. Her normally warm features were hardened with resolve. "Ambassador," she said, clasping Ellen's hand firmly, "your mission revealed a threat we never imagined. The death toll at New Haven." Her voice faltered briefly. 30,000 lives, Ellen said quietly, including 8,000 children. The President nodded. "We've maintained communication silence since receiving your transmission. The Vizari don't know what we've learned or what we're planning." "And what are we planning?" Ellen asked. President Fowler gestured to a large holographic display showing Earth and the surrounding space. Operation Nemesis. For the past decade, Earth has been developing military technology in secret, defense systems that we deliberately concealed during our first contact preparations. Ellen looked at the display in surprise. Ships, weapons platforms, and defense systems she had never known existed appeared as glowing points around Earth and throughout the solar system. "We always feared that first contact might not be peaceful," Admiral Garcia explained. "So we prepared. The public face of Earth showed modest space capabilities, while we built our real strength in secret." "How much strength?" Ellen asked. Secretary Winters touched a control panel, and the display expanded to show the full extent of Earth's hidden fleet. Hundreds of warships, thousands of autonomous defense platforms, and weapon systems unlike anything Ellen had seen before. "Enough to challenge the Vizari Imperium," Winters said confidently. "They think we're defenseless. They're wrong." Ellen studied the display carefully. "The Vizari have dominated the galaxy for centuries. They've destroyed dozens of civilizations. What makes you think we can stand against them?" "Two things, President," Fowler said. "First, we have the element of surprise. Second, we have what those other species didn't: knowledge of what we're facing and a united planet ready to fight." The meeting continued as military leaders outlined their strategy. Earth would not wait for the Vizari to attack. They would take the fight directly to the Empire. "There's one more thing," Ellen said when the briefing concluded. "The other species in the Galactic Council, many know what the Vizari have been doing but are too afraid to act. If we show them there's a way to fight back," President Fowler nodded thoughtfully. "You want to return to the Council?" "Yes. But not as a petitioner this time. As Earth's voice of justice." 3 weeks later, Ellen stood once again before the Galactic Council. But everything was different now. She didn't wait on the central platform for permission to speak. She walked directly to the center of the chamber, flanked by 10 Earth soldiers in full combat armor. The council erupted in shocked murmurs. The Vizari Supreme Chancellor rose from his seat, mandibles clicking angrily. "This is an unauthorized intrusion. Security, remove the humans." Ellen noticed that no security forces moved to obey. Many of the council species watched with a mixture of fear and something else. Hope. "I come before this council not to ask for membership," Ellen said, her voice amplified throughout the chamber. "I come to inform you of a change in the galactic order." She activated a holographic projector. Above the chamber, images appeared: the rows of bodies at New Haven, the Vizari ships harvesting neural compounds from children, and finally, footage of what had happened after. The images showed Earth warships emerging from stealth positions near Vizari outposts. The swift, precise strikes that disabled Vizari ships without destroying them. The liberation of 3 worlds that had been scheduled for cleansing. 2 days ago, Earth forces freed the Zeliki homeworld from Vizari control, Ellen announced. Their people, whom the Vizari thought they had nearly exterminated, are rebuilding. Tomorrow we free the Avari colonies. The Supreme Chancellor's 4 eyes widened in shock. This is an act of war against the Imperium. You will be destroyed. Ellen turned to face him directly. The Vizari fleet sent to attack Earth has already been neutralized. Your command ships have been captured intact, with all their records of your genocide. Transmission signals are being broadcast to every world in the galaxy right now. She stepped closer to the Chancellor's platform. You killed our children. The chamber fell completely silent. That was your mistake, Ellen continued. Humanity has fought wars for territory, for resources, for ideology. But nothing unites us like a threat to our children. You awakened something you cannot defeat. Representatives from other species began to stand. First a few, then dozens. The Trilari stand with Earth, called one. The Nubian Confederation offers its fleet, declared another. More voices joined, species that had lost colonies to the Vizari, worlds that had lived in fear for generations. The Supreme Chancellor's guards moved to protect him, but found themselves surrounded by representatives from other species. This council has stood by while the Vizari committed genocide across the galaxy, Ellen said. That ends today. Every species that has suffered will have justice. Every world that was taken will be restored if possible. She turned to address the entire council. Earth does not seek to replace one empire with another. We propose a true galactic council, one with laws that protect all sentient beings, one with the strength to enforce those laws. The Vizari Chancellor hissed, You are naive. The galaxy has always been ruled by the strong. Ellen nodded. Yes, and today, the strong have chosen justice over power. Guards from a dozen different species moved forward to take the Vizari representatives into custody. There was no resistance. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries collapsed in a single day, not through destruction, but through truth. As Ellen watched, she felt a presence beside her. The small blue Ziliki who had helped them escape stood there, somehow, having survived. You did this, the alien said softly. You changed everything. Ellen shook her head. Not me, all of us together. Above them, the hologram changed to show children of various species on the worlds Earth had liberated. Laughing, playing, alive. The future of the galaxy, now free from fear. They will never know what almost happened to them, the Ziliki observed. But we will remember, Ellen replied. And we will make sure it never happens again.